Hello and welcome to Alive to Thrive OT. I am Lauren Lyman.
And I'm Tracy Schnabel.
And we are two occupational therapists that are here to talk to you about health, wellness, nutrition, mental health especially. We noticed a gap in the healthcare system. We noticed a gap in our lives as a society, and we want to fill those gaps and give you education on topics that can improve your life. So today we are going to be talking about Indigo Children, but first we do have a disclaimer. So this is for informational purposes only. If you have any specific medical concerns, please consult with your medical provider. We don't have any warranties or representations for the information provided, so please proceed at your own risk. And if you have an emergency, please call 911. So Tracy, let's talk about our topic, Indigo Children.
Okay, so I'm so excited about this topic. So in the 1970s, there was a psychologist and other psychologists that started to notice that there was these children that were very different from the other children that came before. And they were called indigos because their aura, they had like this indigo aura. So we each have our own auric field. Some people can see it, some people can't. They can actually measure it with certain machines. It's just not as common in our everyday culture, but it exists and it's measurable. And these children, besides having that aura, they had certain traits that were often misdiagnosed as ADD or ADHD. So ADHD is attention deficit disorder, and ADD, and ADHD is hyperactivity disorder. So we're having all these children coming in that were being taken to psychologists, being like, man, these kids won't pay attention in class. They're having behavioral problems. They need therapy. But the psychologists, as they were getting to know these children and like logging their traits, they realized that a lot of them did not have attention deficit disorder. They were actually indigo children. And some of them actually maybe did have attention problems, but they were also indigo children. So it could be co-occurring, or some of them could just have ADD and didn't have the indigo traits. But some of the indigo traits, which you would miss unless you're looking for them, and I've seen them working in the school system, is that these children are highly intelligent. You may think that they're missing everything because they're moving around a lot and sometimes they're not interested in every subject, but a lot of them know a lot about the certain subjects that they are interested in. They could tell you a whole lot about it. I can give an example. So I know a child that he would be kind of like all over the place. And it was hard to see if you could pay attention. But then when later on, I talked to a parent, they were saying, oh yeah, they really like to read the Bible. And he really kind of the more I probed him, he had like an in-depth knowledge and about other things too. So this could be missed. It could seem like, man, these kids that have ADD or ADHD like symptoms may seem like, oh, they're not absorbing anything. They have learning problems. But actually, these kids are super intelligent, and it's possible that they're just on a different frequency than we are, where they know certain things are important and certain things are not important. If you think about it, I mean, we're very lucky to have an educational system. Some places do not have access to education, but I think some of the things we focus on in school are not some of the things that are central to like us as being happy, spiritual, fulfilled individuals. And these kids know that, I think.
And I can give an example of that too. You know, growing up, I considered myself intelligent and I got good grades and everything, but every time I took a standardized test, I would do really poorly on it because it was having me read these passages that were insignificant. I'm like, who cares? I was a terrible reader growing up, but I was forced to read things that I didn't want to read. And now it's like I'm always reading articles and like scientific articles and things like that. I like to read about different like spirituality type things, and I do really well with it because it's something that I know is important and it resonates with me. So when we're forcing things on these kids and then saying, oh, well, they're not smart, maybe they just don't care about what you have to say. And that not in a bad way, but in a way that's like, how is this relevant? Why am I not learning things that are relevant to what I'm going to be doing in life? And also, like, what my direction is in life, what my path is. And maybe that resonates more with them. They have this understanding of like where I need to go in life. To me, like what we're doing in person and how I'm able to listen to my heart and follow my intuition through my heart, like that's what makes me successful in what I do, not what I learned 2 years ago in my psychology class. No offense, because the psychology classes are a great foundation, but it's not like the end all be all for me, and it's not what resonates with me.
And yeah, I don't mean to be like disrespectful of the educational system. It's just that I think that we need to evolve as our world evolves. And these children, these psychologists believe that they're here to show us that. Before, when we first created the educational system in America, it was to prepare the average, person to work, maybe like a 9-to-5 job, a factory type job was the main jobs that were available. But now really there's so many open gateways for really anything for you to be able to do, especially in the States, because there's a lot of programs we have to help if you have a dream for that to be fulfilled. So what we really should be teaching is what she just said. What is your purpose, and how can we help you achieve your purpose? And one of the main things in school, I don't think we so much teach what is it that you're interested in? What are you good at? As it's more like, please reproduce what we're telling you is important and what we think you should be good at. And there's a lot of, one of my teachers says, college bound programs, but not every student is going to be college bound. Some kids work more like hands-on. So there used to be more trade schools for like mechanics, people that were going into trades, arts, things like that.
And this isn't to say that like the school system is bad or that it's not, we shouldn't be following it at all, because there are some people that need that track and that's their purpose. We need doctors, we need certain professions, we need accountants and things that if that's somebody's calling, that's great. But then we have these people, and I kind of fell into that too, that academically I was very smart. I was able to regurgitate information and that was fine. And I did well in school, honored roll and all that stuff. But emotionally, I just like never connected with the information, and I was never really, I don't know. I just like, it wasn't right. It wasn't right for me. And now I took this like spiritual journey, and I'm doing a position, a job, career, whatever you want to call it, where I'm more listening to my intuition and following my heart, using what I learned in school, but not focusing on that. And once I made that shift, I'm so at peace with my life now, because I feel like that is what I was meant to do, not regurgitating this information and, trying to follow this textbook. I'm like not forcing myself into this path that I thought I should be on. I'm like on the path that I was meant to be on. And that's how I find peace in my life. And that's how people in my life find peace, because it has that ripple effect. So, I always had parents that were super supportive of, do whatever you want, follow your heart, all that stuff. But, sometimes we get caught up in that material world where it's like, well, you have to make money and you have to do this, and, do this job because you'll make a lot of money, or do this job because, there's job security. And it's really pushing people down a path that doesn't fit their soul. It doesn't work for them. And then they have all this inner turmoil and they struggle, and then they're unhappy. And it's like, if you're unhappy with your life, who cares what job you have?
Yeah. Most people hate their job. There's like some statistic that I read that the majority of people are like unhappy with the type of job that they have. And my dad always told me, do whatever you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I think that's really something that the Indigos are trying to teach us, is to be your authentic self. Mm-hmm. And so everything else will come after that. So we need to spend a lot more time looking within than looking externally for validation. Like, here's this grade. Not that, grades aren't important, but I think it's also important to look at what are your interests, what are you good at, what direction do you want your life to go? And they're really trying to show us that by, I think, potentially with the refusing to sit and refusing to like do everything that they're told. So from that perspective, after reading a book about Indigo Children by Leanne Carroll, I started to reframe how I treated the kids. So instead of forcing them like, okay, we're doing this, I'm going to give you hero points for this, I tried to do things that they were interested in, and the participation was a lot better, and their engagement and their connection with me was a lot better. So it's not necessarily, I think, a good idea to force kids to fit inside the box, but actually listen to them and what they're trying to show us with their behavior, like you were saying earlier.
And I'm actually part of a group on Facebook that talks, it's like about free-spirited kids and kids that are a little outside of what we consider the norm, which there are a lot of them, but these kids are like more of the extreme of that, where it's really hard to get them to sit down and attend to tasks. And this kid was being followed by a speech pathologist and an occupational therapist. And, she was telling them like, hey, he works really great outside. He loves to play and get dirty and run around. But when I try to sit with him and work on things, like he's not interested, he's not talking, etc. They said, well, you really need to take what he's doing outside and what he's learning outside and get it to a desk. Get him to do those things from a desk. And I was like, she thought she was a terrible mom. And I'm like, no. Like, dude, follow your kid. Follow his lead. If he's motivated by playing in the dirt, then take some alphabet blocks outside and have him like pour stuff on him and talk about the alphabet and, have him express himself through what he's interested in doing. Don't force him into a desk because we have to prepare him for 8 hours of school every day. I mean, should we be forcing kids into this mold where it's just going to exacerbate poor behavior because they're unhappy? Or should we be accommodating these differences that they have and helping them learn in a way that they feel comfortable and successful?
And the Montessorial schools have kind of caught on to this idea, and they do a lot of outdoor, like teaching about how to grow things, active engagement, letting the child lead. And we've started to do this in the school system. We had another video about preschool being play-based and that being evidence-based. So instead of giving kids like a bunch of worksheets at a young age, we engage, like she said, in play, getting them to say their colors, to count, the horses that they love, letting the child lead. This is very counterintuitive to our old paradigm, which is you have to listen to authority, and you as a child are kind of like in a lower position. I'm not saying that you shouldn't teach your children, respect and manners, but I think it's also important to understand that your child, whether they're an Indigo or not, has a lot to offer you and to teach you. And it's a lot more enjoyable and rewarding as a teacher, probably as a parent. I'm not a parent, but an aunt. When you engage with them with that frame of mind, I think it's can be infinite what you could learn and do together.
And children have an innate desire to learn. Kids want to learn. I mean, us as a species, any kind of animal, I mean, you have to learn to survive. So we automatically want to learn things. So we really don't have to force them to learn. And if it's being forced and it has to be forced, then maybe you're not teaching them in a way that's helping them, in a way that's conducive to the way that they learn. So it's not necessarily how do I force my kid to learn. It's how do I find a way to teach them in a way that they're responsive to.
And also, the kids, I think, are also teaching us, like, we've become so separated from the outdoors and nature and earth is central to our existence, right? So we're doing deforestation, we're polluting the earth, we're like making genetically modified foods, and it's causing a detriment to like our health, to our well-being, because if you continue to pollute the planet, it's not going to be fruitful, right? And we're going to have problems with food. And if you keep altering food, you're going to have problems with how your body reacts to it. And if you don't spend time in nature, I mean, we were talked about studies where just 20 minutes outside can profoundly affect adolescents and adults with depression. So these kids are trying to tell us something, and are we listening? So I think that this is really interesting that psychologists began to notice that as early as the 70s, and there's been an increase in the influx as the decades have gone on and on. So there's more and more of these children, and I think it's to save the planet and ourselves. So I just wanted to go over all the traits, and we kind of covered that they don't fit into the traditional school system. They're really wanting us to connect to who we are on a deeper level. We're all one, okay? So this seems kind of abstract. Like, we kind of divide each other based on like so many things, like, oh, our race or our religion. But Bruce Lee once said, we're but one family under the stars. And the Indigo Children are here to teach us that we're all connected as human beings, and to create unity, which is arguably this heavenly state, right? Or this peaceful state, is when we talked about this in the reconciliation video, when we're not separate. And when we create separation, I think that's when we create suffering, and these kids are here to teach us to think in a different way about each other and ourselves. So I think that's really cool, one of the big ones.
And we'll have a video about truth that we'll post, so look out for that video, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means.
And then something else that's interesting is that they also, if you take that we're all not so different as kind of we've been, I feel like, taught to believe, like, oh, this country is different than my country. They believe in like not having like a border, like a difference between me and other. They believe that we are all one. And I think that's a really beautiful concept. And then, so that would lead to no more wars, right? If we're all one. So I just think that what these children are here to teach us is pretty radical, based off of our old paradigm. But I think that it's pretty special. But we have to just be willing to put aside our old paradigm, like over here, and open up our ears and listen to what they have to say. So if you identify with Lauren's story, you would be the type of indigo that's come here to like get to work, get on, like they're like the soldiers, right? So they're here to like, let's start these systems in place to create a shift in our world. So she is very good at like creating communities and setting up groups and systems to help create and foster that change. So kind of making institutional higher level changes by action. And then there's the other Indigo Children, which I identify with, and Lauren's husband. I think that he's similar, Kevin. So we kind of can feel people's energy. And you might be a little bit of both possibly, but really feel other people. So it's as if we literally are not separate from other people. So you can feel what they're feeling. And sometimes it can almost be as if you don't even know your own feeling if you're not taught this, which is why I'm so passionate. I want to start working with Indigo Children early, is because you can take on others' emotions as your own, and then it becomes kind of confusing, and you can actually start to really, an indigo gone wrong, right? Can actually start to dislike people and not, if they're not shown early that this is a strength, because it can be very chaotic for them to deal with everybody's emotion, especially in a society where, you know, there's a lot of, I don't like to say there's a lot of negativity, but I think on TV and a lot of things that are going on right now can be overwhelming. And if you're feeling everybody's emotions, that can be a lot to deal with. So the reason that these children are here is to help heal humanity by, right, if before the old paradigm is like, I'm separate from you, you're different from me. But if we can literally feel the other person as if it was myself, then we can really start to communicate. And that's true communication where I think we're taught to lie a lot, either directly or inadvertently, like lie about how we're feeling. Oh, I'm fine. or what you think, right? If you think that a boss or a friend, if you tell them something, it might create conflict, we'll be like, oh, I agree. So we need to be able to, I think, in the new society that these children are trying to create, be able to be genuine with what we're feeling and communicating with each other. And that language is a language that's not words, it's felt. But it also has to be managed. So I want to work with kids to teach them about this early so that you can have a boundary between yourself and others, but also be able to use that beautiful gift to help others heal, to be able to really connect with them, because a lot of people are not able to express what they're feeling. And if you can kind of get them to bring that out, it can be healing in itself, just releasing what they're feeling if they're hiding it from others. So they're healers of humanity. And then the third one is that psychologist that I was talking about earlier believes that they've come from different, and this is going to sound really strange, so take it with a grain of salt, but from like a different either planet or dimension, or maybe you think about a different frequency. In metaphysics, they talk about how there's multiple realities co-occurring. So possibly like from a different higher vibration reality where this world already exists, and they've come to help bring the vibration up to that other level where in this current reality it's at a lower vibration.
And if you remember what we said about vibrations, the higher your vibration, the more healing you have, the healthier you are. And then as you get higher into vibrations, you get more into spirituality and more knowledge and things like that. You're able to take on information that our lower vibration world just can't comprehend.
So yeah, so that sums up the Indigo Children. Watch this video, listen to the whole thing, see if you identify with it, and look up, there's tons of videos out there about indigos, and learning how to protect your energy and how to foster your real self. And then if you have a child or know a child with ADD or ADHD, I'm not saying that they might not truly have that, but I think that everybody, whether they have ADHD or don't, or are Indigo Children and have ADHD, or they just have ADHD or ADD, they could benefit from this video. I work with children that have some difficulties in the traditional classroom, and all of these things that we talked about can really reframe how you see the child. And once those children are really seen, they can be more successful, I think, in life. So, and also check out to see if you identify with any of the three. So thank you. I just thought this was such a cool topic, and I didn't learn about it till about a few years ago. I just wanted to share that with you to either help you or a child, just vibrate higher.
So thank you so much for being here. And we do want to say, if you need a little help figuring out your truth, your path, your purpose, if you identify with this, but you don't know how to put this into action, we're not here to tell you how to do that, but we're here to help you figure it out for yourself. So if you need any help, feel free to reach out to us. But please, in the meantime, like our video, subscribe to our channel, and sign up for alerts so you know when we post new videos. Visit us at Facebook, www.facebook.com/Lauren and Tracy. And, you can check out, I have a website, thelymaneffect.com. Tracy's working on Reiki to help people open up their energetic channels and really clear up some blockages so they can reconnect to self. And I can help you with the more concrete things. And we have other spiritual providers within our Awake Oneness Tribe community. So feel free to reach out in any way, and we're happy to connect you with whatever you need.
And as always, we're wishing you emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. Thank you for being here, and we welcome you to watch more of our shows. Thank you. Bye-bye.